Testing 1, 2, 3. Good afternoon to one and all present here. I am Ritika Sana, Chairperson of RAIT ACM Student Chapter from Ram Rao Adik Institute of Technology, DY deemed to be a university. I welcome you all on the second day of two-day hands-on online workshop on Svelte, a tool for building fast web applications, organized by the Department of Information Technology in association with RAIT ACM Student Chapter. This workshop is inspired by the motivation given to us by Honorable Dr. D.Y. Patil Sir, founder of D.Y. Patil Group, and Dr. Vijay Patil Sir, Chancellor of D.Y. Patil University. Honorable Principal Sir, Dr. Mukesh Patil Sir, and HOD of Information Technology, Dr. Ashish Jadhav Sir. Our special guest, Mr. Srinivas Shah, is currently associated with Pocket Bits Vashi. Our industry expert has always been a tech enthusiast, and his experience in the field of web development will help us create our dream website using Svelte. Participants can post their questions and mark attendance in the Google Form link shared in the WhatsApp group. Both are separate forms. Attendance link will remain active from 3:30 p.m. to 4 p.m. I'd now like to invite Mr. Srinivas Shah sir to start with the workshop. Over to you, sir.
All right, thank you, Ritvika. I hope you guys can see me again. So, guys, last day we stopped at JavaScript and the sections of JavaScript. All right, and in JavaScript, I want to take a little bit of recap over here. So first we started off with the data structures, and then we went to handling the additional data structures, which are lists and objects, and then we saw how the operations are done on the data structures. All right, and after that we also saw like how industry works and what are the do's and don'ts of LinkedIn. I hope you guys liked it. And today is a continual lecture of yesterday's where we left off. All right. So as I asked yesterday, you need three things which are necessary for using Svelte. All right, I'm sharing my screen. Okay. So I asked you to install Node. So you need to install Node.js to in order to pursue this lecture. All right, you can install both the version. The version 12 is an LTS version, which means long term support. It means that it will be supported for 3 years, and you won't need to change the version until 3 years. And the other version is 14.9.0. It's based upon the bug fixes, and it has the latest features as mentioned over here. All right, and also you need Git Bash. So Git Bash is something that Windows users need to download currently because we are using Svelte, so we need Git Bash. All right. So I think that's enough for today's intro. And if you don't have these things, like if you don't have a Node.js installer or Git installer, it's okay to watch, and you can just keep on watching video. This live video will be saved on ACM's YouTube channel, so you can just see it later on. All right. Okay. So I'm going to start with Svelte. So um, in Windows, you need to first go to your any folder you want to run Svelte on. All right, I'll name it test underscore project. Once I created the folder, I will go inside it and press shift and then right click. After pressing shift and right click, I'll see that option over here. Open PowerShell window over here. In your computer, it is possible that you can see a open command from here prompt, or a open PowerShell window over here prompt. All right. If you have Node, you need to open the PowerShell window over here. You'll see something like this. So PowerShell is preferred more than command prompt, which is all right. And I'll tell you why. Because let's say I type something like m CPY or something like that, all right. And if I press up button for now, it has memory that it remembers, all right. But if I just close it and I go to CMD again, and if I try pressing up button, it doesn't remember what I have written the last time I access the command prompt, all right. But it's not the case with the PowerShell, and it's really very advanced tool. It's like the terminal for Windows, so you can join PowerShell and use it always. So, okay, so now you can see if I'm pressing the up button, it's working fine, all right. So with PowerShell, you need to say npm I, which means npm install. So previous version of npm works like this. If suppose you're using Ubuntu as an operating system and you have a node installed, like like less than version of 11, then you can use this command npm install -- save, and you need to say degit, 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 all right. So this was the old version for this command. The new version is very simple, all right. So you need to say npm I g means global. Globally means you can access this anywhere. It basically adds the Svelte library to your environments, all right. And you need to say degit. After you do this, npm command will run, and since I have installed it already, so you can see the one package is updated over here. So let's get an intro to Svelte first. Let's see what Svelte is. All right, Svelte. Okay, so if you go to this website, I told you we'll discuss the Svelte thing over here today on Sunday. So Svelte gives you an access to a Vue.js or Angular based code, which can be written more easily and is bundled into a very smaller package. So with Angular and Vue.js, it's like much possible that whenever you use them, you're writing your HTML and then you're bundling into it. But Svelte is bundling your HTML in real time and like packaging it into a really small app. So that's the reason Svelte is very popular nowadays. All right. Again, there is no comparison between Svelte, React, Vue.js, and Angular, since they all have their own use cases. All the Google apps that are made, the YouTube app which you are watching on, if it is on desktop, it's made on Angular, and the React app is Facebook. So basically, if I go to let's say Amazon, and if I go to Amazon, okay, let's go to Facebook. Okay, if I go to Facebook, so you can see the React button is turning blue, as I told yesterday. So I can see that the React button is turning blue. So it means that Facebook is built upon React. All right. And okay, Netflix is also built React, but we are not here to discuss React. We are in the scope of Svelte, so we'll discuss Svelte. So Svelte doesn't have any virtual DOM. So in React, there's a convention that we use, JSX, which is the combination of HTML and JavaScript. So that's the reason it's called JSX. But Svelte uses more of an Angular-based approach, which is more like you just have to add some delimiters inside your HTML, and then you can just inject your code inside the HTML. All right. So it's basically like Django or ASP.NET, where you use delimiters to inject the code inside your HTML. And all the operation we did on JavaScript yesterday will be useful in this lecture as well. So basically, I told you that the JavaScript I taught you wasn't complete. It was only on the basis of the scope, which is required for Svelte. All right. So here is so it says build boilerplate free components using languages you already know, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So it means that whenever we are working with Svelte, have to see a boilerplate code. Whenever you are working with Django, you will see a lot of boilerplate codes such as settings.py. You have a lot of like unwanted stuff which you don't know why it is existing over there. So with Svelte, it's like whenever you are building something, you don't have a lot of boilerplate code. You just need to run the code directly. All right, and it's also reactive. It means that it can change between the states, but as I told you, it doesn't use JSX, so it cannot be related to the React. It can be related to Vue.js or Angular. All right, so I hope this introduction was good, and I have changed a bit of the pattern. I can see your comments now, so if you are really having any doubts in between, you can ask me quickly, and then I can pause for like 1 minute, and then I can reply you, so that you don't have to wait for the end and you can understand the things. All right, so let's continue with the Svelte lecture again. So where I was, yeah, so I said npm I hyphen g digit. So digit is basically the GitHub library of Svelte. Again, to access digit, you will need node for you guys. If you want to check node, you need to say node v hyphen v. Now I can see my version is 14.9.0. So I hope you guys are seeing this same version or the 12 one which I told you is LTS. All right. And for npm is node package manager, which is same like pip for Python. All right. And then all you need to do is say npm svelte svelte js slash template, and let's give your project a name. So after this, you need to give your project a name, which I will call starter.
Sir, can you increase the font size, please?
All right. So all you need to do is now is use this command. Yeah. So you need to use this command, which is digit svelte.js template, and then you call your project name, which is starter. Right. And now it gives you this code which says clone. Clone means it's cloning the stuff from GitHub repository. If you have Git Bash installed in your PC, you won't be seeing any error. All right. So after this, since I was in my folder, I can see a starter project over here. And since my terminal is running, which is PowerShell, all I need to do is say code dot. Since my VS Code is set on environment variables, I can do this. If you are not able to do this, what you need to do is I'll tell you right now. All right. If I say code dot, I'll see there's a VS Code ID over here. All right. And after going into the VS Code, I'll get the starter. All right. So for the others who don't have VS Code set on the path, all you need to do is go to file and open folder. Let's go to test. All right. Now I can see a test project. I can see a starter project. And if I go into starter and then select folder, and see I'm inside the starter now. So, okay. It says welcome to VS Code, and I can see all the stuff over here. And I have the tools which are required for Svelte, and I'm suggesting you guys should download it as well. So if I write SVELTE Svelte, right? So you can see there's a Svelte for VS Code extension. You will need it for running Svelte and for autocomplete and syntax highlighting for Svelte language. All right. And then you have this other extension which is called Svelte in IntelliSense. You need this for auto completion, so we can write the code quickly. All right. And I'll give you a quick tour of VS Code first. So like those who are using Atom and are like having difficulties using VS Code can use VS Code as well. So basically, whenever you are using VS Code, Shift, Alt, and down button can instantly copy a single line for you. So basically, when I go into my src and app.svelte, if I want to copy this line again, I'll just press Shift, Alt, and down. All right, so I can see that the copy is made. All right, if similarly, if I want to copy it upwards, I can just press Shift, Alt, up, and it copies upwards. All right. And the interesting thing about Svelte is you can interesting thing about VS Code is you can change multiple things at the same time, which is also possible in Atom, but it's really easy with VS Code. All right, all you need to do is press Alt button over some place, like over here, and then if I want to delete something from here, if I delete it, I can see that both the places are getting the stuff deleted over there. So now I'm pressing Control Z because I didn't want to delete it. All right. And also, if you want to have multiple selection, you can press Shift Alt, and then see I'm getting the multiple selections over here. So if you guys want to do it, please use VS Code because it's really very handy for writing code, at least for web dev. All right. VS Code is made and maintained by Microsoft, and VS Code is really very processor heavy application. So if you have less processor, please don't add more extensions than you need. All right, all you need is this extension, Svelte and Svelte IntelliSense, for this lecture. All right, so in this lecture we will be covering some stuff which is okay. So there are some stuff which we are going to cover. I am going to have some project. If time allows me, I'll definitely do that. But if time won't allow me, you'll get a complete introduction so that you can get a head start and you can do the course from your own. Like you can just go to the documentation and read the documentation out and learn Svelte on your own. All right. Okay. So the first part is environment. Let's just explore the environment. What are node modules? So whenever you have an application which is running via Node Package Manager or NPM, it uses node modules. All right. So currently you can see that the node module is empty because whenever we push something on GitHub, we try not to add node modules or this packages which are like worthless if you push it on GitHub. Let's say you have some private data in the packages and you don't want to show it to others, but you need to give them the boilerplate so that they can generate their own private data. So in that case, you'll just ignore that package. So whenever we see a .gitignore file, we can see that there are two folders which are selected over here, or three. So basically there's a DS store, there's a public/build, and there's node modules. All right. So basically they're avoiding this folder public/build. It's not existing over here, but when we try and run a Svelte app, it will be definitely over there. All right. Okay. So basically there are some, so this is your plain HTML. What Svelte does is it injects your Svelte extension apps or components, I can say, to this HTML. So basically we are targeting an HTML and then injecting the Svelte app inside it. All right. And this is the main JS, which is purely very inspired by Vue and React. As you can see, if you guys have some experience with Vue or React, you can see that the target document body is there and the props are there. All right. And then there is this rollup config. Rollup config is something new, which is like an alternative for Webpack, and it's really so good. Svelte is also good because it also does this thing when you're not using some CSS properties, it just ignores it for you. So basically, when it happens with web developers that you wrote ton of CSS, and now you are now your application is heavy, but Svelte just ignores it for you and builds a package which is free of unwanted CSS. All right. Okay. So the package.json comes with the npm. So basically, if you are very used to Python, you must see a file which is called as requirements.txt in Python. It's the same over here. So why a Svelte is not called as a library? Because there are not like dependencies which says it is a library. It's just Svelte compiler. And if you have Svelte compiler over here, Okay, so if you press F1 in your if you search Svelte, you can see that there are two servers that it allows you. All right. Okay. So these are basically scripts, and now what we need to do is, since we like downloaded a fresh Git version of Svelte, as I told you, there are some files which are ignored, and we can clearly see what files are ignored over here. So to get those files back as a boilerplate, and to run your Svelte application, all you need to do is npm I, which means install the basic packages which are currently needed. All right. Okay. So before doing npm I, you need to cd into the application, which is starter, and then run it. All right. Yeah. Now, if I run it, I can see like a lot of things are going on over here. Yeah. So for you guys, it will take a little bit time, since I'm having a net which is like more than 100 Mbps. It's really very fast. All right. Okay. So after this, I'll see there's a file called package.log.json. Basically, it says what packages you have downloaded, and in package.json you'll see that all the files are back. And now when you go to the node modules, first it was empty and now it's filled. So basically, these are the dependencies you require to run a Svelte application again. So how do you run a Svelte application? So the way you run a Svelte application is npm run dev. All you need to do is npm dev. All right. Now you'll get something like this, which says that your application is running on localhost 5000, and I need to copy this. To copy this, you just need to right click on it. All right, just right click. It is copied. I'll go to my browser again, and then I'll open a new tab, and I'll just do this. All right. Okay. So now you can see there's a Hello World application, which allows you to see the screen. All right. So now this is the app we have rendered over here. Okay. So to change the application, first we need to check how it works. All right. So Svelte is basically like compiling a JavaScript file into an application. All right. And this is a component. Whenever we are like looking at a component, we can see like there are 3 tags mainly, but you can add more, but there are 2 important tags which need to be over here. All right. The first tag is style, because because every component has its own CSS. So basically, whenever you write a CSS in one component, you can see that the component CSS files are private for that component only. So basically, if we create another component which says form, and if we write CSS into it, it will be this component specific. Okay, let's change some names for this. For now, I'll just remove this export, and let's see what happens. All right. And every time you make changes, please remember to save. And this sidebar is really very annoying, and whenever you want to just avoid the sidebar, you need to press Control B. So in that way, you can just disable the sidebar again and again if you want. All right. And let's just see what happens when I remove the export. So if I have the export already, I'll see something like this, which says Hello World. All right. And if I remove the export now, and just say like let name, all right, like what, see you can see like something happened which says undefined. So it's like very clear that we are injecting a JavaScript file into an HTML using Svelte. All right. And how I'm knowing that it's working behind, so behind the scenes you can see that the compiler is working over here, the Svelte app Svelte, wherever I'm highlighting. All right. So now you can see that under the screen there's this Svelte like pipe operator app Svelte. All right. Okay. So now let's add a name. So I'll say name equals Srinivas Shah. Right. And now it's been added because of this delimiter. So basically we use the name variable inside the h1 tag. So the curly braces like scaffolding the name are called delimiters. All right. So now you can see hello Srinivas Shah. All right. So if you want to do some changes, you can have your own variables. All right. Let college name equals RAIT. And what if I just like add a p tag over here and I say welcome to RAIT. I actually wanted to say this, but since we have this variable now, we can just remove RAIT from here and I just say college name. Alright, and just save it and let's see what happens. Yeah, see, it's over here. Alright. So you must be wondering why this is looking so beautiful, because already, as I told you, the CSS files are added beneath the code. All right, this is the basic CSS, which is application specific or component specific. Whenever we want to change CSS of all the components, all we need to do is go to public and there's a global.css, which is not private anymore, which is global. So this file affects all the components, whether it's a standalone component or whether it's a parent component having multiple components beneath it. I know you won't understand some conventions, all right? It's okay to not understand some conventions, as you will be learning more and more of the stuff in your college years. So all I need you guys to do right now is concentrate and look at the lecture, so that in future, if you learn something, you can come back over here, take it as a reference and continue to learn, all right? Okay, so now since I know what happens with the environment, and since I showed you, let's check the events. All right. So let's just do this thing. All right. I'll add a button over here. Button, and I'll name it maybe change uh, college name. Change college. All right. I'll just do this. And to add an event listener, you just need to say on, and then you need to say click, because buttons are made for clicking. All right. Now we'll add some empty braces over here. And now for this, we need to make a new function. So as we discussed yesterday, there was a guy who asked what are callback functions and how do you use those functions. So we can check this out again. All right. So to use them, all we need to do is we need to name the function first. Okay. So let's say function is handle click. Click. And I'll just say college name equals SIS maybe. All right. So since the college name is declared using let keyword, okay, we can change the college name again because let gives you an advantage of making your variable dynamic. All right. So as I said again, this is a wrong convention. You guys only should use this convention in Python. In JavaScript, we always follow camel casing and not snake casing. So please, if you have done this, just change it into this thing again and save it. All right. And now all you need to do is call handle click over here. All right. So whenever in JavaScript, whenever you are trying and calling a function, you don't need to add a function like this. It only means that when a script is running from top to bottom, it is invoking the function directly, and we don't want that to happen. So what we want to happen is we want the function to get invoked whenever we try and click on this button. All right. Okay. So basically, we don't want to add those spaces again. I'll say this code will throw an error again. I'll tell you why. Because we are calling the function here directly, and I'll show you how it throws an error. Alright, I'll just save it, and then I'll just change. Okay, it's not throwing an error, but it ran directly. Alright, and we don't want that. So whenever you are having some errors in Svelte, all you need to do is just check it over here. Alright. So if your app is having some errors, it will show something in red. These things are called warnings. You don't need to worry about them. Warnings are nothing. It's just because of some issues inside the library itself. All right. So basically, whenever you do this type of stuff, all you need to do is just invoke it like this. Um, let's say you are handling a click. If you do this, and then okay. All right. Okay. So this is for the function which takes something from the parameter and then does that. All right. So you don't need to worry about those functions again. You can use the hand click over here. Okay. So we have seen what are event listeners. Again, there's an event listeners called as input event listener. So we'll see that. So next we are going for on click events, and then we are going for input events. Since we have already seen what on click event does, which is this one, we'll just move on to the input event. All right. And now what I'll do is I'll just say input, and I'll just delete this. All right. And then I'll just add on, and I'll say input. All right. So since for a click event listener, I made a function which was handle click. So for input, I'll make a function which is known as handle input. Okay. So this is a way to write a callback function again, and it is set callback because we are calling the function back even after the script is completed and it's went done. So JavaScript has something which keeps reading the scripts from top to bottom in a loop. So sorry, event loop. Yeah. So basically, every time the event loop runs, and so let's say you have clicked the button and you have clicked the submit button over here. All right, which is change college. So whenever you click the button, the event loop kind of is running, and it comes to this line of code and it sees that you have invoked this function now, and it needs to run the event from the part where the function is existing. All right. So we'll start with handle again. So what I'll do is I'll say let student name equals okay, we'll just initialize it and we won't declare it. All right. What we can do is we'll be on input handle click. All right. Okay. So this input gives us a value which is called E, which is event, but it's written as E. So what handle click does is now it can use this event. All right. EVENT. Okay. And now since I receive this event over here, what I can do is I can call event, and we can say student name equals event dot target value. Okay. After this, I need to have some p tag or h6 tag maybe. H6. Which can render the student name. Alright, so I'll just say student name Okay, I'll save it now. And I think there's an input in which says undefined. Okay, so still undefined. Student name equals to default name. Okay, so by default you'll see that there's a default name over here. The font isn't visible, so I'll just increase the font size over here. Let's make it H1. Okay, and then we can see the input. So we can see on input over here. Okay, so this must be for, this is just when you want to display it. For two-way binding, you need to do this thing, which says a two-way binding, which is value equals student name student Okay, if you do this, the value which you have posted inside the variable student name, you can see that inside the input field, all right, which is called as two-way binding. So two-way binding is really very important whenever you are working with Svelte, because whenever you want to update that value in the input field, you will see the existing value which is given to this variable over here in that field, all right. Okay, so now what we can do is we can just go over here and check it out. Okay, so now as you can see over here, the default name is present because we have this default. Okay, the spelling is mistake and like it's okay. So now you can see that there's a default name over here, and then we added a value which kind of got us into the state where we were. All right. I hope you guys understood this, and now we'll move on forward to see like how the handle event works. All right. So now when you see this on input, so basically the on input is asking the app whether I should like agree and give the values which are entered inside the input field to this handle click. All right, the event is a method which allows the app to get the value. So event.target.value is the thing which gets us this value over here. All right, so the value inside it whenever it's changed, and it's done this in this fashion in the original JavaScript, but with Svelte all you can do is this directly. All you need to do is just remove this. Okay, you need to remove this and just add handle input over here. Right, it was my bad. Handle click is just for handle click. We can add handle input over here. All right, and it's giving me error because there's a circular brace over here. Okay, so now you can see I have removed the default name, and I can add some names over here, which is Siddhi. It's called two-way binding. So please, if you have this sticky note app, please make note that whenever the value attribute doesn't exist inside the HTML, all right. So whenever the value doesn't exist inside the HTML, this is called as one-way binding. So in one-way binding, as I told you, there's nothing inside the field, but you can just change the name by this. So you can just add or something like that. So but when it was empty, it is empty. So this is called as one-way binding. All right. But for two-way binding, all you need to do is you just need to add this value thing, and now you can see that the value which was holded by your variable is already existing inside the input field. All right. So this is called as two-way binding. So now if I add some name like Dr. Ashish, all right. So you can see, right, this is how the two-way binding works. I hope you understood this. And now there's a shortcut for this. All right. so there's like literally a good shortcut for this. Now what we can do is we can just like uh, comment it out and write the shortcut and say like input, and we can say bind, and then we can hello, yeah, so we can say bind, and then we can add colon value, and we can say equals, and then give the function which we made, handle click, right? And oh sorry, handle input. Oh, uh, giving us an error is, I guess, needs to do thing. Okay, so basically what was happening till now, so we needed to write an external function for having this function work into our input field. Now what happened is input got smarter and it gave us this attribute called bind colon value. Now you don't need any function to update this field, and then you just can directly do this and just save it. Now if I, yeah, now if I say Shri Shah again, and now you can see that two-way binding is working directly with the shortcut. So basic goal was to eliminate the whole code, and now we made our code more efficient using this. All right. I hope you guys understood this, and let's move on to the next topic. Let's see what is over there. Okay. Now we can also change the style tags using Svelte, which is very interesting. I think React and Vue are having a property which can dynamically change your style. All right. So let's say I am writing the college name, and our college color logo color is something like this, RAIT. So let's go to RAIT like by Patil. So for web developers, you guys can have a tool which is really very good, and now you can just use this tool which is called as color picker, and you can just like hover over this color, and then you can get this, and it's copied already. All right. So if so, this is the color picker, and you can get the color picker extension using um, Chrome extension, CHROME. Okay, so now go to Chrome Web Store and just select color picker. Alright, so this is what you need. Yeah, so you can like get any one of this. The color picker I am using is okay. Okay, so just search color picker and get any one of these. Everyone works the same. Alright, and now we chose the color, and what we need to do is we need to add it to our RAIT. Welcome to RAIT stuff. Alright, now we can do is you can say style, right? Style, and then do this, and after doing this we need to say color, right? And then color, and now I can create a variable. Let's say let on over here let color equals, all right, and I'll just say color equals color. Oh my bad, since it's a variable, we need to put it inside delimiters. So now you can see that the color is changed. You won't be able to see like this, but if I really zoom inside it, and now there's a difference between the color. So what I need to do is basically make the tag changes for welcome to RA. So yeah, so what I can do is I can just delete this and make it H1 again, H1, and then H1 over here, and then just save it. All right, and now you can see welcome to RAIT. Now it's in a different color. All right. So this is how you work with the, I'll just press Ctrl and Z again. As I told you, like you can do anything you want with this. And there's one another trick I wanted to show you. Let's say I want to change the college name between SIS and RIT. How would I change it? So basically I'll say, I'll make another function, or I can use this function, which says like, okay, we already did this, I guess. We'll do something which binds the college name, and when we click it, it will update it. All right, and we'll use that when we create another component. For now, we'll just carry on with the portion I've selected for you guys. So there are this, okay, style tags in Svelte are not like React, I told you. Now we can go and see what are reactive values. All right, let's check what are reactive values again. Reactive value is really very interesting part with Svelte and JavaScript again. And you must be seeing something which is really buggy for me right now to see. And I have added semicolon at the end in my name, but there's no semicolon over here, and there's no semicolon over here. How the hell is my code working? So JavaScript is a really forgiving language, and it's really loosely typed language. So it forgives you a lot while doing this. So for this, you need to have you need to press Control Alt Shift F, and after pressing Alt Shift F, you'll see my code is formatted again. So there's a code formatter I'm using. You need to press F1 and you just search format, FORMAT, and now you can see there's this Shift Alt and F, and which says recently used, which means I formatted my code. If you have this code formatter, please don't have the code formatter. Please use the code formatter, which is called as prettier. All right. Okay. So you need to search it over here. Prettier. PRETTIER. All right. So this is the code formatter I'm using, and it's used by a lot of people, as you can see over here. So please try and format your code because it makes it look good and understandable as well. All right. Okay. So I was talking about computed values. Let's go and see what are computed values. So currently I wanted to check whether what is the value which is most dynamic in over here. So most dynamic value over here is the default name, which is on the student name. All right, this variable over here. So what we can do is we can just use computed value, and we can say $: student name. So yeah, student name, console.log student name, and after that I can see the default name over here. All right, and when I see default name, and what I mean by default name over here, it's really very dynamic. So let's check how it's dynamic. All right, and now when I'm checking it out, you can see it's like updating in real time. So that's what I meant by reactive values. All right, so reactive values are also worked as computed properties. All right, so if I add something like let's say horizon. All right, so now I can see the horizon was typed in like incentives, which is HOR, something like that. So that's why the computed properties are really very important with Svelte. Again, I'll go inside my text editor, go to files. All right, so this is how computed values work. But let's say you have done some operation. Let's say you're calculating an average again and again, and you need to print that average in different components, like 6 different H1s. All right, like something like this. I can make it out. Okay, so after formatting, make sure that your style tag is it in its position. The formatter tries and changes the position of style tag, and it brings it up to the, like, it brings it before the main tag. You need to just like paste it over under the main tag. All right. All right. So I'll just press Control and B again to just get rid of the sidebar. All right. So if there was some operation I wanted to do, let's say H4, then there was some operation like math dot random. Okay. Something like this. So I can see like it is having multiple different values. All right. So there must be some operation which can be really very efficiency losing, all right, inefficient. So what I want to do is basically have one random function running and six instances of it. So how can I do it? So basically the reactive values also work as computed values. So let's say I'll just add a dollar over here. Dollar, I'll say name um, equals maybe math, correct? Can add, yeah, we can add this. Okay, so name is something which is existing already over here. I can say rand val, then I can save it, and like I can make six different H4s. And if you press Shift Alt and down, you can see I can copy it below. All right. And if you want to have like six cursors over here, or like many, you can just press Alt and select each one of them. But I did it to your convenience, guys. So I'll just say name or randval, which is RANDVAL, and then save it. And now you can see I've printed the random values. Okay, so what I didn't do was add this at the end. Now I can see that there are like six values which are similar. So basically what happened is it is computing once, but it has its instance like 3 more times. So this is the way you do it. And this wasn't possible using the normal let or var operations, all right? So if you guys are doing it in real time, make sure you make your comments beside this by using double slash. This is a comment. If this isn't visible to you, I'll make it visible to you. For you guys, I've added a correct. So this is the comment. This is the way you add the comments. Okay, and in HTML, you need to add the comment like this. You need exclamation with the left arrow and then double dashes, and double dashes at the end with the right arrow. All right. Let's move on to the next stuff. What we have in the bucket. Yeah. So this one is really my favorite one. So this is called like for each. Yesterday we have seen for each. Let's see it once more. What I'll do is I'll just expand this, and as you guys requested yesterday, I'll just zoom into my font. Let's see for which one. So let's say you have let my ARR equals maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. My ARR dot for each. Okay. And now when I use for each will give me an instance of every value inside the my ARR, all right, array. So what I can say is val, and then I'll just surround it by circular braces, and then just add an arrow function. So this is an arrow function, guys. This is the way the callback functions are used. So by mistakenly I pressed enter. Please use shift enter to like zoom or like go inside the function. All right. I'll just close this, and I'll just say console.log file. Right, so you can see like I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this is the similar technique how Google prints the results in their search query. All right. So if I say maybe cars, so if I search cars, so the things which are printed over here can be seen over here, right? You can see the links are printed over here. So in similar fashion, we need to print some links or some names inside our code. So let's see how to do it. Firstly, I need an array. So what I'll do is I'll just comment this thing out and we'll just keep it as it is. All right. Okay. So what we need to do is we just need to comment this out. So we'll see some blank page. Okay. So in between there's a comment. What I can do is just comment this part out and then just comment this part out, right? And then okay. Now I can save this and I can see. So I can reset my browser again to show you how it was at the beginning. All right. So this is again working fine. Okay. So let's start with this. What we'll do is we'll create an array. Let's say let my list equals. Again, I'm using camel casing. Please notice this. This is the convention which is used in JavaScript, and it's really very important to use it since JavaScript developer don't follow snake casing. All right, and I'll say my list equals to name, which is or maybe Tushar, or maybe Akshay. Correct. So I made a list of these names inside it. So what I need to do is now I need to print this list in a HTML fashion. So how will I do that? Okay. So to do that, all we need to do is we need to start with delimiters, start with a hash value, and write each, EACH each. All right. We'll get something like this, hash each, and then we can just end each. It's giving an error because we don't have an ending tag. All right. And then we can write some JSX inside it, or sorry, HTML inside it, and we can say each. And now my list as person maybe, all right, and then I can say h3, and then I can print the person. So basically, if you have used Python in your life, or basically you are familiar with Python, I'll just run, okay, cmd, all right, and if I okay, if I enlarge it and if I show you guys Python, now inside the console, if you are very familiar with writing a for loop in Python, for I in on some list like 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this is the similar fashion in which we write. Alright, so I got 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's just the similar fashion in which we write JavaScript. Alright. So over here you guys can see I used as my list as. So it basically this as is an alternative of in. Alright. So the person is every single value inside the list. So basically it should print Madhav first and then Tushar and then Akshay. This is what I'm intending right now. Alright. And let's see whether it does that or not. See, it printed all the names which we have wrote inside the list over there. All right. And what we need to do right now is do some operations because we know that websites are not so stupid to just list out the elements. We need to do some value thing on them. So let's say I'll just change this list something like, let's say let new list equals to a list first, Alright. And now why I'm making this list, because I intend to put objects inside it. Alright, so I'll say name, Vishal, age 21, is female, colon, and we'll give it the false value. Alright. In similar fashion, just to copy it again, you need to press Alt Shift down. If it is not working in your computer, go over here and use key maths for short. Okay, so go in your computer and just check whether you have this settings where it's written keyboard shortcuts, and you can just change the shortcuts from here. So all these shortcuts make you use VS Code in a really handy way. All right. Okay. So Vishal, I'll clone everything and I'll just change the name to the. We can make it to the. So I can change the name to. Alright. So now if you see clearly, we have like 5 objects inside a list. Alright. So what we can do is, just like we did over here, we can do this. Alright. I can just go down now. Then I would say uh, each. This is a refresher for you guys. So each, and I'll I'll call my list's name again. So this is new list, right? I'll just copy it down. So I'll just do new list as again a person, and it's really a variable name. It doesn't even matter what you write inside it. So just to show you guys, I can just write item over here. All right. And then for every each, you need to use the each closed version of each, right? So I'll copy this over here and then I'll press enter. And what I can do now is say h2, or maybe I'll just delete the h2 and just get back to it. Yeah. So what I'll say, item dot, alright, item dot name is of age, item dot age. Alright, this is what I intend to do. So basically, this is what Google does for you guys. Whenever they are rendering some links on your Google page, you can see this is what is happening in the backend. Alright. So Vishal is of age 21, Saurabh is something like this. Alright, I hope you guys got it. And now let's make it a bit of easy. So you have seen this. I guarantee you have seen this somewhere. So now we can add a else over here. Alright, so for basically, what if these value didn't exist inside the list? We'll comment them out. Alright, and what we can do is we can have a else statement. Else h2, sorry, no people inside list. Alright, so if I go and check it now, so I get it, like, sorry, no people inside the list. So you must have seen it in some application or somewhere. So whenever we are trying and fetching the API, so initially there is no API inside it, but when it is fetched like this, then the list is available to you guys. Alright. Okay, so moving on to the next topic, we'll make it more challenging. So now we just started iterating over the items. Alright. And I wanted to like just skip this part and move towards some part which is really very interesting. What we can do is, if is female is true, we can make it as a pink color thing. All right, pink color h2 tag. All right, so what we can do is, we can add again the same method to add if, and to end if you need to add this if item dot is female, and then we can just say it color, or like thing we added beneath this. Okay, so what we need to do is h2.style equals, and then we need to say color, alright, and then we can directly just say it over here. So we can add something like let color equals to string pink, and then color equals to delimiter, and then we can add pink, alright, and then we can say item. Okay, we can just copy it from here. We don't need to write everything, right? We can just make it faster. Control C and then Control V. Alright, let's check it out. Uh, okay, so I think something is not working out correctly, and we'll check it out in a while. Yeah, so everything is printing over here. So, and also there's no error inside the console. So guys, whenever you have any error inside the console, what you'll see, there's some red value over here. So if I add something gibberish, alright, you'll see a red value over here. Okay, so now let's start with filtering the items. So this filtering of item is really very interesting because it is showing us how to delete some item when you want to delete them. So when I say item, I am referring to a particular item which is inside this for loop, alright, inside this for each I'm saying, alright. So for that I need to do something. So basically, I think this list is much less complicated than the other one. So for now, I'll just comment this out and I'll just check whether what is being displayed on my. Okay, there's some error, I guess. I haven't seen this. Okay. So, all right. Let color push to thing. There's an error. Okay. So again, the color was previously defined. I defined it again. It's my bad. I'll just check it out again. Yeah. So now everything is working perfectly. And now let's see whether it's anything is up on the. Okay. So okay, so I'll copy this list over here. Control C and Control V, and I'll just say this. Okay. Just come out of the server again. Just Control C. Okay. Yeah. So basically, there was some problem with my compiler, which said that there was some connection issue. That's why we weren't able to render anything. So what I'll do is now I'll just delete everything so that we can get some more space, and it's really very easy to debug once we face some bugs. All right. So it may happen that you may get disconnected to your console or compiler. Again, please check whenever you see something in green. 200 means success, and whenever there's a bad value, it will always give you the error of 400. All right. So whenever things are looking pretty good, they will be always green. All right. So make sure that of that. All right. Okay, so we are back to the same list again, and now we can see like my list uh, B, Madhav, Tushar, Akshay, Siddhi, Harshal, and Avi, and now we have this, alright, and they are printing on the screen as well. Okay, so the basic goal was to filter the items, yeah. So for filtering, I need to add a on-click event, alright, on click. Alright, and I always told you whenever you make a click event for handling a click, you need to say const handle click equals handle click. Okay, so I can say that return so to just okay. So first you need to sort console log does inside it. Correct, console log. I'll just do this and I'll just say console log person RSON person. Alright, and I'll just add click over here and then just go to the browser. Alright, I haven't saved this. So log and click on click and click. Correct. And if I click on this, something wrong with the compiler. Okay. So I added on click and click person. Alright. Person. And then we can take the person here. Function. And we can add another function over here. Yeah, so now we can see the names over here. All right. So whenever you are using a callback function, like just like I made a mistake over here, I just assume that this function will be passed inside the console logs. It's not possible. Again, it may be different in React. Since I come from React, it's a slightly different React. This is now not how it works over here. So you guys can also make same mistakes again. So please, if you are writing the code, please highlight this one and save it to your sticky notes if you are having currently right now. All right. Okay. So what I need to do is I just need to filter it out. So to filter it, as I explained you yesterday, again I'll explain it to you since the people who are new to the stream have joined. All right. So let's make. Okay. So I have this array which says my ARR. I'll just move the screen over here. I'll say filter. That will give me an item again. So item is nothing but just one instance, like one object. All right. In the iteration. and again I'll surround it by the circular pieces, and I'll give it an arrow function. And as I told you, always press shift and enter, or you'll commit the code. And now you need to say, okay, I actually need to commit the code as it is, because I'll tell you why. To filter something, we need to have a target, all right? So what I'll do is let target equals 2, and I want 2 to be filtered out in this function, all right? So I'll press the up button again, and it has memory, so it will just give me the filter again, all right? And now what I can say is return item not equals to target, all right? So now if you see this, it has returned us something which is excluding this target value, all right? So this is what we are going to do basically inside the Svelte to filter our list. So we can target one of these, any one of these, and we can just see whether we are getting the filter value or not. All right. Okay. So I'll just take a few minutes of break and read that what the comments are in input, why there is a handle click. Okay, so basically whenever you use this events, which I told you already, on click, it will require some function to be invoked after this thing is rendered over here. All right, so that's the main reason to have a handle click over here again. Okay, you cannot directly write any logic inside the HTML tag. You need to write the logic inside the script tag. Script tag invokes JavaScript, and when JavaScript is like connected to the HTML, which is this, the whole template, or I must say component, we need to invoke the JavaScript inside the HTML. So this is the delimiters over here are for invoking the JavaScript. All right. Okay. So what we can do is now we can just filter it out. So what I can say is if, or just return it like this. Person, sorry, I forgot return person not equals to person. Alright, I'll just save this and then I'll filter it out. Okay, so okay, so now the issue I can see over here, whenever I'm saying a return person not equals to person, it needs some ID to enter. All right, I'll show you why it needs an ID. Okay, so what I can do is I can just convert this list into something else. So I just handle click to be as it is. All right, so I made a slight mistake over here. What I needed to do was is my list dot filter, and it will give me a value. Okay. So whenever there are double values again like this, like index or something like that, let's say you have a value first, then you have an index, index, all right? So you need this braces in that. If you are having more than one value, if you are not having like two values or more, one value or more, you just can remove them directly. And now if I filter my list and say return person not equals to person, all right. So basically this is the way you write filter function, and there's another shortcut to use. All right. So what I did was I just wrote my list, but I need to also redeclare my list, right? My list equals, right? If I click this, okay, all are gone. So what I was telling you. So whenever you are doing this operation, you need a particular person's ID. All right. let's say we go to Google, and now if we search cars, all right. So if I click this link, I go to a particular link because I clicked the ID of it. All right. So what we can do is we can create the whole new list, and we can like let this obj list equals. And so first I'll make a list, and then I'll add an object inside that I'll say name equals 3 and ID. Oh, sorry, equals 1. Right. This is the object I've made. Right. I'll just run it again. I click Alt Shift F. So I got this object list. What I do is press enter now. I'll give myself more room. Then I'll just Alt Shift down. Now from history, I can just write some names like Tushar, Vishal. Alright, and then I can change the ID. ID 2 and ID 3. Now in this case, okay. So whenever you just have to remember, whenever you format the code, the style tag will come up. You need cut it and just paste it down. It's not needed to do so, but we are losing the information while the style tag is set up. So we need it to do that. Alright. So what we can do is now, so as I told you, each my list. So I'll change this my list to obj list object list as person, right? And now we have different person over here. Cool. So now what we can do is we can say if value, and then we can say value dot id equals to person. Since this is an object, we need to check whether we are like specifying the name. Now it will come as person.name over here, and handle click we are giving it the person.id. Please guys, you can make the same mistakes I am doing right now. Since we are like having a very fast pace, I am like getting a bit confused, but you guys need to highlight the mistakes I'm making right now. You guys need to see it yourself. Like it's really very easy to make mistakes. All right. So now we need to do this person.name, and just give my function person.id. Since I want to make it more readable, I'll just call it id again. All right, and now I'll just change value.id equals to id. Okay, so now let's check. We have so now another error is this: we have did the operation on my list. We need to do the operation on object list. Obj list equals obj list again. Now I have filtered obj list and redeclared it again with the new values. All right. So now everything looks fine, and now I can save it. See now when I delete it, everything is getting deleted. But this is not the actual store. The actual store is something like Firebase. All right. So if I go to Firebase, this is the actual store. What we are doing is really a basic app which deletes something, and if I refresh it, everything comes back. All right. So please always look at this convention where you have to see that you need this ID over here. All right. So whenever you write each function, which is like a long each function, you need to just like specify your ID. So you can just write person id. So what each function does is it just does some error correction behind the scenes and kind of is tracking every element inside your list. So you can save it now, and then if I run it, it will just delete the things, as you can see. All right. I hope it was clear. Now I'll just refresh it back. So let's get to the next topic again. So we just did conditional checks, which were if and else. Okay, let's do it once again, because I showed you if and I think it wasn't working, right? So now I can say again if it's like endif person dot id equals to 1. Okay, so basically I've told that if person.id matches this, let's print h1 a is the. Alright, now you can see that. So basically this is how the if works. Alright, let's add some id which is not there, like 7. Alright, and I'll just have an else statement for it just to be safe from what's coming at us. I'll say else h2 instructor unavailable. So this is what we want now. So I think you understand as else if again. Else if gives you the power if id equals to if person.id person.id equals to 1 again. Since I've added 7 over here, I'll just put 1 over here and things will get better. Alright. Instructor is here. Alright. And then I can add else. Like 3 is the student. Not this student over here. Just add a else at the end. Again, else. The no one is here. Alright. Yeah. So I can see like no one is here is also working. He is a student also working. Instructor here is also working. Alright. I hope you understand how the conditional statements work. What I'll do, I'll just delete everything because as we saw last time, commenting have kind of made a app like it was a long app and then it made a app buggy. I'm trying to avoid. If you guys have any other question, you ask me now, so I can proceed with next. You can ask me in the chat if you have any other questions. Okay, I'll assume that there are no questions and I'll just move ahead with the components. Okay, so now the actual thing why Svelte is so important comes in play. All right. So basically what we need to do is we need to scaffold the app around some components. All right. So I'll just make h1 tag first. I'll say this is my component under the h1 tag. All right. So this is what I'm writing right now. Since we don't need this, we'll just delete everything. All right. Okay. I deleted everything from the script. And what I'll do is I'll have a new file, make it random component. Alright. So basically, as we saw over here, it is 3 tags, alright, which is not bounded by it. You can add like multiple and multiple tags. It's all up to you. How many tags you want to add inside it, okay? Or you can just write script. Okay. In VS Code, if you add a ending right arrow, it will directly add script ending for you. Okay. And then you can add another tag which says the Alright, and then we can get a style component. Right. Okay. Now I need to write something over here. So I'll say h1. Hi, I am writing something inside the component. Okay. We'll save this. And now, how would you call the component inside the app? App is your parent, and the random component is your child component. Okay. To import it, all you need to do is import. Let's say rand com. I'm just shortening it. It's all right to shorten it and com / random component dot svelte. Alright, so basically this is the component holding a HTML and Svelte code, and we are just calling it as a rand com. Alright, and what we can do is now we can just outside or inside the main we can just write this RANDCONT and give a ending tag like this. Guys, please be careful when you are using any highlighting. You can see that a component is always in the other color. Alright, you can check whether if you are wrong, the component won't be in other color. Alright, if I set M and now it's not working as a component. It's not looking as a component. Alright. Now if I just run it, okay. Hi, I am writing something inside the component. And now you can see I wrote something inside the component. This is the way that reusability gets started. Suppose like you want to create a student database, and suppose I have like 5 students as my students right now. So Siddhi or some random names, alright? And now what will you do? Usually you just write 5 different logics for 5 different things. But here